You're watching VNA News Bulletin. I'm Vĩ Hằng from Hanoi with the major stories.
The 14th ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community Council meeting opens in Malaysia. Viet-built international exhibition kicks off in the Mekong Delta city of Cần Thơ. Rice demand from Vietnam's traditional markets shows signs of recovery.
The 14th ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community Council meeting took place in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia on October 7th. Vice Minister of Labour, Environment and Social Affairs Đào Hồng Lan led the Vietnamese delegation to the event. Opening the event, Minister in the Malaysian Prime Minister's Department, Hasha Nancy Shukri, highlighted the important role of the ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community Council, describing it as the central and soul of the ASEAN community. At the meeting, ministers deliberated and endorsed important documents regarding prioritized fields of the ASEAN socio-cultural community, including environmental protection and response to climate change and natural disasters, improving social security, eliminating violence against women and children, promoting higher education, and enhancing food hygiene. They debated the functions and tasks of the ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community Council, the role of the Coordinating Conference on the ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community. The ministers also welcomed the appointment of officials to work in the ASEAN Community of Permanent Representatives, so as to promote the Council's activities and enhance its links with the member nations. Embassies of all 10 member countries of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, in Russia, co-hosted the ASEAN Day in Moscow on October 6. The Vietnamese delegation was headed by Envoy Nguyễn Hùng.
Addressing the event, Indonesian Ambassador Johari Oratmangun, who is currently chairman of the ASEAN Committee in Russia, affirmed the bloc's major role in building and developing a peaceful and stable Southeast Asia region towards the formation of the ASEAN community by the end of this year. Alexander Ivanov, Special Envoy for ASEAN of the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, congratulated the group on its significant achievements recorded over the past 48 years. He spoke highly of the Russia-ASEAN cooperation and expressed his hope that the relationship will thrive more in the future. The ASEAN Day is held annually in Russia with a view of contributing to the enhancement of the bloc's solidarity and increasing international friends' understanding on the grouping. Russia is now the 8th biggest economic partner of ASEAN, with bilateral trade doubling in the last 7 years to exceed $20 billion per year. The 20th Russia-ASEAN Commemorative Summit will be held in Russia in 2016.
A get-together between Lao teachers and Vietnamese officials and businessmen who once studied at the National University of Laos was held in Vientiane on October 6. Our reporters in Laos will bring you more details.
Hosted by the Vietnamese Embassy in Laos, the event was also designed to celebrate the 21st anniversary of Lao Teachers' Day. Present at the function were Lao Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Education and Sports Phan Kham Vifavan and Vietnamese Ambassador to Laos Nguyễn Mạnh Hùng. Speaking at the get-together, Ambassador Nguyễn Mạnh Hùng conveyed his best regards to Lao teachers for educating Vietnamese students who contribute to developing the country as well as nurturing the special traditional relations between Vietnam and Laos. Meanwhile, Director of the National University of Laos, Sukhomsang Sayaloth, thanked the Vietnamese Embassy for organizing the ceremony and expressing his delight at seeing former students who have fostered the relations between the two nations.
More than 200 domestic and foreign construction materials and service providers are showcasing their products at the Viet-Built International Exhibition that opened in the Mekong Delta city of Cần Thơ on October 7th. Let's take a look. On display at over 500 booths at the annual event are new and advanced products of local and global trademarks in the fields of building materials, interior and exterior decoration, and real estate. Conferences, business meetings, and art performances will be held on the sidelines of the expo, which will run until October 11th. VietBuild 2015 provides a useful playground for participating entrepreneurs and contractors to exchange experience, boost trade promotion, introduce their products, and seek business partners. The Prime Minister has given a nod to the equitization plan of the Airports Corporation of Vietnam. Our reporters have the full story.
Under the plan, the corporation will sell state shares while issuing more shares to increase its charter capital. Accordingly, the state will hold 75% of the corporation's charter capital, while 20% will be sold to strategic investors, 1.4% to its workers, 0.13% to the trade union, and 3.47% at public auctions. Established in 2012 by merging 3 airport corporations in northern, central and southern Vietnam, the corporation is the country's largest airport operator. It has registered capital of nearly $677 million. It operates 24 subsidiaries that manage businesses at 22 international and domestic airports nationwide. Last year, the corporation earned an estimated $394 million in revenue, 0.86% higher than in 2013.
The Vietnam Food Association forecasts that rice demand for Vietnam's traditional markets is showing signs of recovery for the next 6 months. More details coming up next.
A report released by the Vietnam Food Association shows that Vietnam shipped abroad over 4.3 million tons of rice worth $1.95 billion in the first 9 months of this year, down 9.12% in volume and 14.3% in value compared to the same period last year. Decreasing demand in Vietnam's major import markets and lower prices in the year-beginning months were attributed to the drops in rice export volume and value. However, rice demand from the traditional markets is showing signs of recovery, given Vietnam winning bids to supply 450,000 tons of rice to the Philippines and about 1 million tons to Indonesia. The contracts will help Vietnam's rice export grow more stably from the fourth quarter of this year to the first quarter of 2016. According to the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, the country's total rice output is estimated at 45.1 million tons this year, up 0.3% from 2014. Last year, Vietnam exported 6.3 million tons out of its 45 million tons of rice output, becoming the world's third largest rice exporter, just behind India and Thailand.
Import tax on various types of trucks could be raised by between 2 to 20%. That is the content of a circular drafted by the Ministry of Finance.
The proposal was listed in the draft circular on revising import tax on trucks and spare parts, which has been sent to other ministries and sectors for their suggestions. Taxes levied on imported trucks are expected to be synchronously increased in the country, but still under the World Trade Organization's ceiling level, as Vietnam has committed. In concrete terms, the Finance Ministry plans to raise the tax from 68% to 70% of value of trucks, which are 5 tons and below. The trucks with a capacity between 5 tons and 10 tons may be levied import tax of 70% from the current 50%. The Finance Ministry said the tax increase was aimed at supporting and encouraging domestic automakers to strengthen production and assembling of special use vehicles.
After 3 years of implementing a project to restructure credit organizations, the State Bank of Vietnam has basically controlled and handled weak institutions. Our reporter will have the full story.
In the past 3 years, the State Bank of Vietnam decided to reduce the number of credit organizations and foreign bank branches by 17 through mergers, acquisitions, and license revoking. Specifically, in 2013 and 2014, the number of credit organizations was decreased by 5 through mergers and acquisitions, while 3 foreign bank branches were revoked licenses and 4 state-owned commercial banks were equitized. In 2015, the domestic banking industry continued to see more mergers and acquisitions.
The State Bank of Vietnam has adopted many strong measures, such as purchasing weak banks, and at the same time carry out a program to make the financial sector more healthy and transparent.
By the end of August, credit organizations handled 424.14 trillion Vietnam dong worth of bad debt, equivalent to $18.66 billion, bringing the ratio of bad debt to 3.21% this August from 4.93% in September 2012. The bad debt ratio is expected to reduce to below 3% by the end of September.
Bad debt has been tackled basically and brought to some 3% to date. We are trying to reduce bad debt to below 3%. The restructuring and settlement of bad debt has helped to stabilize interest rates.
More importantly, the public trust in the banking system and monetary policies has improved remarkably. The stability and safety of credit organizations have been ensured and strengthened.
Hanoi's birth rate this year is likely to stand at 15.8 per 1,000 members of the population, a sharp drop of 19.36 in 2012, and meeting the city's yearly target.
The Municipal Steering Committee for Population and Family Planning said from 2011 to 2015, about 120,000 children were born each year. Gender imbalance at birth has also declined, with an expected 114.5 boys per 100 girls in 2015 from 117 boys per 100 girls in 2010. The committee said during the period, the city spent $8.5 million on population and family planning activities. It pointed to difficulties facing the city, including a large population and extensive geography, which led to a high birth rate in 18 districts and towns, as well as unstable birth rate reduction. From 2016 to 2020, the city will strive for a natural population rise of 12.5 per thousand and a birth rate reduction of 0.1 per thousand annually. Meanwhile, the city will work to ensure gender balance at birth with a maximum of 115 boys per 100 girls.
Moving on to other news, the 5th Science Film Festival in Vietnam, themed The World of Light, will take place from October 11 to December 6. Our reporter will bring you more details.
The Goethe Institute said the festival is among activities in response to the 2015 International Year of Light initiated by the UN to underline the importance of light and optical technologies in sustainable development. Targeting young audiences, it will feature 13 short films by Thai, Philippine, German, UK and Canadian producers. The event will offer scientific and technological experiments and games with the participation of children and adults. Festival activities will be organized in Hanoi, Da Nang, Ho Chi Minh City, and some northern and central provinces. As many as 25,000 children and young adults in 9 provinces and cities across Vietnam took part in the previous Science Film Festival. The figure is expected to reach 30,000 this year. The event is scheduled to commence with free entrances on October 11 at Kim Dong Cinema in Hanoi.
The lure of rock climbing has been bringing several local and foreign visitors to Cat Ba in recent times. It is an ideal place for those who love adventure sports to indulge in their hobby.
Cat Ba is an archipelago of 367 islands of various sizes. The main island, Cat Ba, is about 100 square meters in area, roughly 30 kilometers from the northern port city of Hai Phong. Cat Ba Island is linked to Ha Long Bay by a fascinating complex of islands and caves. There are many beautiful cliffs in Lan Ha Bay, Dau Bay and Van Boi Island and the Fish Cave, which are tourist highlights here. They are beautiful, romantic and not so challenging for beginners. Matt Bender, a climber, said on worldhtmc.com, "I've often thought that you are not special is a terrible thing to say to someone, as it trivializes the human experience. But staring up at 30 meters up the raw Cat Ba Island mountain that you are expected to climb is a humbling experience, one that could make the most rock-strong about Breton feel a bit trivial or even unspecial. With its fresh air, beautiful beaches and primary forests, Cat Ba has become the perfect destination where people can relax and experience the adventure of rock climbing.
And that's all we have for this bulletin. Thank you for tuning in and goodbye from Hanoi.